everybody. This is Laurie Handlers, and you're listening to Sex and Happiness, a show about your sex and your happiness. A few weeks ago, I did a show about a program called ReMenBer, a program for men, and I interviewed Gil Oren, and Michael Gibson was with me because he had been in the program. And today I'm speaking with another founder of ReMenBer, who's also one of my best friends on the planet. I always say if I had a brother, a twin, this would be this man. So I'm introducing you to Frank Mondeose. Frank lives in Montreal. He originally came from the business of producing and directing burlesque shows. Then he went into sacred sexuality and he became an ISTA facilitator. Now he's an ISTA lead. And we actually get the privilege often of traveling the world together. And I must say also that Frank also takes care of me when we're on the road together so that I don't fall or trip or do anything stupid. Like he always really takes care. He has a special job in my life. So Frank, welcome to Sex and Happiness. Welcome back. You've been here before.
Thank you, Laurie. Yes, I'm super happy to be here. And
Yeah.
always a privilege to look after you. I consider that a privilege. When I'm in your presence, I'm like, how can I serve this queen?
Thank you. It's so sweet. And so it changed my life. To have someone like Frank in my life changed my life. It made me more open to my vulnerability and more open to being in my feminine polarity, which was not just a quick used to for me. So Frank plays a very, very important role in my life. And today I want to tell you how he could play a super important role in your life. Whether you've been to a workshop with him or not, he is part of this creation. He's one of the 4 men, but I know because he speaks so much, he has so much to say. He was a major creator in the program for men called ReMenBer. So Frank, you created this a couple years ago with
Yes.
With Gil and Nimai and Philippe, and who are men that I adore and love and adore. And what was the original vision, and where are you now? How has it grown? Because I know you're doing something new soon too. So tell us a little bit about it. What was missing in the universe? What was missing in the world that was needed for you to create this ReMenBer program?
Yeah, so thank you. ReMenBer started as a brainchild of Nimai and I. And basically, we came out of the ISTA core gathering, and I remember what year, 2016 or 17. And he was already percolating, wanting to do a brotherhood thing. I was awakening. Actually, I had just come out of a 1-year depression, and it was like a dark night of the soul kind of thing, where I was doing some severe healing. And when I went into the depths of myself, I recognized that the pain that I was experiencing, I recognized that men were probably experiencing this all the time. And I said, one of the things that has to come as the healing piece of my journey was to offer men the space to go through a similar process that can support them to emerge out of this low and find gusto in their life again, so that they can get in line with their sacred purpose and be productive element of society. And myself and Nimai were hanging in Costa Rica after a training, and Nimai still is a faculty apprentice. And I said I wanted to support his apprenticeship. So ReMenBer really started off as a brotherhood journey between me and him, to support him to step into greater power. And that was supporting him to create something, deliver a child. He has another child, a real child now, but this is a project.
Yes, he's a father. He's a brand new father.
Absolutely. And also for him to practice his facilitation. And Nimai is brilliant. I want to talk about him, how we work in facilitation. But to end the story, so we sat for a week. We developed a curriculum. We brought Gil and Philippe in, And we recognized that we had to be four facilitators for the ReMenBer journey. We didn't want to come off as like the two people that knew it all, because we don't know it all, because we're on our journey, because we're discovering it as we go along. And we can only really get it if we have the support of other brothers, because that allows us to drop into the vulnerability, fall apart a bit, be safe in that, be picked up, supported, and ReMenBer, like put our members back together. ReMenBer stands for many things, but I like it to point to the journey of Isis, Osiris, and Set, and how Isis refashioned or remembered Osiris to make love to him one more time and give birth to Horus. So ultimately, ReMenBer was a project between me and Nimai that turned into something that really is grounded and is really needed, and is being called for to support brothers to hang out with each other, which we don't usually do unless it's like locker room or betting or sports or whatever. We're just trying to make connection more accessible.
Yeah, good. A couple things when you were talking. One is having Philippe Lewis and Gil Oren with you also. So when you're four of you and you're not competing, no one is competing with anyone, then that shows a new model to men. That's that thing I thought of when you were saying, yeah, we invited the other two.
No, but actually it's exactly that. This is forcing us into tracking our shadows around power, and we get called into presence right away when we're out. And it forces us to share this power. So nobody's in the limelight, so the energy goes out to the brothers, and then continue to the circle of brothers, where we offer those brothers, they have got wisdom. We've got people in their 60s, their 50s, whatever, and everybody's got wisdom to share. And so we just open that space. So it's good resonance. What's the second and third?
The other thing was ReMenBer, which is like the word remember, reminds me of when we were in Montreal and you were doing a conference, and they had the French, Je me souviens, which is I remember who I am. So you had the word remember was in there too. And I never forget that, you had the fleur de lis and it said Je me souviens. And that's like, yes, I remember who I am. And I don't know if that's the direct translation in French or not. My French is not that great anymore, but that just...
Well, the translation, actually, that's the line that we have on our license plates in Quebec, Je me souviens. But it was appropriated by politicians who were never going to forget what the English did to them. So it's like almost like a threat. But when we go to the root of where that line was quoted out of, was from a poem. I forget by the name of the name of the person, but he was the person in charge of the coat of arms of Quebec, as well as he wrote a poem. And in it, he speaks. He says "Je me souviens," but it's exactly in that thing. The poem went something goes under the rose, serve in service to the lily. I remember, or something like that. So under the rose means in secrecy. To the lily represents to the feminine, and I remember who I am. So it actually is a direct, thank you for making that connection. It's a direct connection to what the ReMenBer brotherhood journey goes to, because ReMenBer is also a statement to say, let's remember our role within the whole, at least man's role within the whole, and what our role is in the holding and in the transformation. So this is what we are so focused on during this journey.
Lovely, beautiful. I love it. And I didn't even, when you said it, I remembered that. And I could look over here because it's right over here. Wait, I'm going to show it. I have it right here and prominent in my office so that I remember. Let's see. That was from the conference, Je me souviens, with the lily. And
that conference was actually I would say, the relaunch of ISTA in North America when Crystal Dawn became lead and you joined in faculty, and together we just did a whole injection of life force energy in ISTA throughout Turtle Island, which is the name, what the indigenous used to call North America was Turtle Island. And so the three of us definitely injected our life force all over Turtle Island.
I know, that was so great. So let's go back to this ReMenBer thing, because, you know, what I've learned, here's what I've learned. I've learned a lot from my partner, Michael. I've learned that men don't talk to each other about anything, except sports, except business and politics.
Women.
Yeah, they talk about women, but not much. They don't actually, they say, do you get
Not the
laid?
death.
Yeah.
Not the death.
Yeah, did you get laid? Yeah, she was good. That's all. They never talk about stuff they do or how to communicate or how to touch or anything. You know, Michael surprised me in that, and so I started to see like there are places where men are so lacking because they don't have the support of each other. They see each other as the first thing that happens is they get bristled up and they see each other as competition. And so I think ReMenBer is super important in our world right now, and that it deals with some of the issues that churned up at ISTA, which are things like men don't have intimacy with each other. Men are homophobic. They may talk to a woman in their life, but they don't talk to each other. There's so many, you know, there's so much like, oh, really? I thought men always talked in the locker rooms. I thought they talked about what I was thinking. I don't know. You know, they don't. So what are some of the things? What are some of the themes? And then what are some of the actual real things that happen in ReMenBer without giving away the training?
Thank you. Actually, first thing I want to say is that I'm highly encouraged about the shift in consciousness around men. More and more, I mean, it's a small niche, of course, and spilling out, but more and more they are starting to have the conversations. We can't get through our culture nowadays if we don't plan or we don't make the effort to connect with each other. So at least in my circles, the brothers are willing to put their heart on the line. That's the big wound around the masculine. It's our receptive area is the heart. So we guard it. We guard it like women guard their yonis. You know what I mean? So now we've come to the place that we can no longer come from the place of putting up that armor, because it is a wall. And so now we're recognizing that if we want to love, that we have to place our heart on the altar. And one thing we can know for sure is we will get hurt. Pain is inevitable. Suffering is optional. So what we try to do at ReMenBer, or what we are doing at ReMenBer, is we're supporting men to recognize that they don't have to suffer. But the journey of pain is part of the journey. It's part of being alive. There's pleasure, and the antithesis is pain. And you could even look on the other side, there's even more pleasure, as Lawrence Lanoff would say. But right. But so in terms of themes, we're bringing the men through this journey of the dark night of the soul as well. So it starts off with, first of all, recognizing each other, seeing each other, a real conscious presence piece. There's a piece of really starting to acknowledge what's alive in our field. So the first night we dedicated to finding out what is alive in the individuals that are in our field. So we just raised the questions. We don't answer any questions. We just raised all the questions of, you know, how do I deal with aggression? How do I deal with rejection? How do I deal with jealousy? How do I deal with belonging, attachment, abandonment? So we just find the themes. And then we kind of customize the training towards the themes, although we have our roadmap. And the roadmap goes from bonding and brotherhood and vulnerability, so to create that space, then to the rite of passage of shadow work. So we go deep into shadow work. This is probably the deepest shadow work that I've been a part of, in that we spend the most time that is dedicated to just like say, we're gonna do the shadow work and we're gonna continue going the next layer of the onion for about 3-4 layers. So there's like a lot of people, it's beautiful how they wanna escape in that moment, but we ask them to lean in, and then the cracking is so beautiful. We touch a bit on our erotic energy and our body. And that's often challenging for people to be having that conversation amongst men, but it's a liberator. And then finally, we come out on the other end towards what is it to love? What is it to return to love? What are the three layers of love, of self, of neighbor, of the universe? And what is our relationship with all these three layers? And then exiting with touching base into our sacred purpose and setting commitments with the Brotherhood Circle to work towards their sacred purpose. So we actually support and track and have accountability cycles around calling each other to presence of, so where are you at with your sacred purpose work?
Beautiful, so beautiful. So, I mean, it occurs to me that when men don't have a purpose or they don't know their purpose, they're lost. I mean, I could go back to the David Deida work and say, David Deida says, well, if a man doesn't stick to his purpose, a woman's going to pull him off kilter and eat him up and spit him out. But really, if a man doesn't know what he's supposed to be doing or doesn't have the connection to that, he's totally lost. And then the other things are so critical and important, the shadow work, the things that are in the background playing out. Some people don't know what shadow work is,
Right.
Things that are playing out and they don't even know that it's running the show. They just don't know, like the competition, like it's just like it's just there.
Sorry.
Go ahead, no, go.
So I'm taking this course on meaning, like finding meaning, and it's mapping the work of Viktor Frankl over Kabbalistic ideas. And Viktor Frankl, one of the cornerstones of his research, he was like a Jewish a Jewish man in the concentration camps.
Right.
And one of the things he studied, he was a very studied man, and he would study and watch people, and he knew when people would fade off and die. And he said that moment that their soul like gives up and is ready to release is the moment where they lose meaning, when they've lost their meaning to life. As long as you can have like a vision towards your meaning towards life, you will stay animated, you will stay on purpose. But the minute your meaning of life is either faded or diminished, distracted, that's when we drop into depression, anxiety, just not feeling like you wanted to be here anymore. So we underestimate, like oftentimes we think our meaning of life is success, and success is linked to dollar bills, and cars and houses and assets and whatnot. But in the end, that all becomes stuff and boring. And ultimately, there is a sadness of soul. And until you find that meaning, you won't you won't thrive. And so
Exactly.
with the ReMenBer journey, it's like if you want to be clean with your purpose, you want to be outside of like in the light and not in your shadow, you need to go into this dark night of the soul, unpack the difficult pieces, be in a safe environment where you could be witnessed in your imperfections, your fear, your guilt, your shame, be loved through it, not judged, and through the support of the Brotherhood Circle, lift you to make you recognize that you are a king in your circles, and we are allies to support your kingdom. And so the ReMenBer just puts you in a better position to be more attuned to authentic sacred purpose or soul purpose.
Beautiful, beautiful. And I love the whole study you're doing about meaning also, Viktor Frankl, really important person in many people's lives, great writer and survivor.
Absolutely.
So now I want to ask you about this, how because of the times we're going through, the COVID, you can't get together. Nobody can get together yet, where everybody's waiting with bated breath, waiting to exhale. Are we going to be able to get together in September, in October, in November? So you're doing, every day is touch and go. The discussion lags on. Will ISTA ever shine again? What will we be doing? Everything's online now. So tell us about what the offering is of the taste of ReMenBer, or like what, it's an online program, and what are you doing and when is it and like that?
Thank you.
Yeah.
So it's July 16th to, no, sorry, 17th to 19th. It's a weekend. It's not this weekend, it's next weekend.
Okay.
Depending when you're posting this, July 17th to 19th. It's 4 days, 4 hours a day. So the first, we're starting with a 3-day weekend, the weekend, 3 days.
Mhm.
And then we're gonna delay 1 month, or like go on pause for a month and then come back a month later for the last session. And the idea about that is to support them to take the work into the world and then integrate it, and then have a whole session about integration and how that was. So the experience is called First Steps to ReMenBer. First Steps to ReMenBer. And the idea here is that we're not going to give the whole ReMenBer journey. It's impossible. We can't do the ReMenBer journey online.
Sure.
But we are taking bits and pieces to give its own experience and its own flavor and its own offering. And so what the brand promise of First Steps to ReMenBer is to be around in a circle with brothers in uncertain times, to start to scratch the surface of the shadow, to acknowledge and access our different archetypes, our different masculine archetypes, to recognize that our time here on earth is that we are going to leave behind a legacy. So to come into conscious relationship with that legacy, and legacy is a historical remnant. And so those are what we're going to do in the 3 days. And then that 1 month in between is, okay, now you've got some tools. What are you doing with the tools? Let's report back and let's have a cheerleader session of how it feels to bring these tools, what has changed in our life on the last day. So that's First Steps to ReMenBer. 4 days, 4 hours, $180 US. It's going to be with the four brothers. For your listeners, let's offer them 15% off. I'm going to create a promo code called Handlers15. So if you use Handlers15, you'll get 15% off on this First Steps to ReMenBer, which was born due to the fact that we couldn't meet, and we were getting brothers saying, guys, I need support, and I need to be in a circle of brothers. Can you please do something abridged, abbreviated online, so that in the meantime, for when we can't meet, that we still are linked together. So this is our maiden voyage, and we're very excited about it. And we're continuously working on the curriculum, and it's gonna be powerful. Short.
It sounds excellent. Now, could people who took the live ReMenBer come into this circle and do this one?
Absolutely.
Is that recommended?
It's like this work. You could look. Shamanism is about the spiral path. It means that we're always going to be repeating the same thing from a different layer. So this content of going again into your shadow work, again into reflection work of how deep you're able to love. So in society, we have been sold a version of love, but it really isn't love. It's really just like capitalism, fear repackaged as a commodity. And so we all think we're innately capable of loving, but if your mind is not set to what love actually is, we're actually trading in sex, power, and money. And love is not even in the conversation. So,
right.
So you could always come and do another turn on the carousel and see how you've evolved in your relationship with authentic love, which in some ways is super easy if you're ready to let go and be in the abyss and the unknown, and other ways super hard when we are really attached to the object of our attention or affection.
Yeah, that's great. So good. So some people could be repeaters, and some people could be brand new, and it doesn't matter. Do you have a quota? Like, is there a size where you're going to have a cutoff, Or you can just take, I mean, like, it sounds to me like this could involve hundreds of men.
Yeah, I mean, eventually we'd love to see hundreds of men, but because we love to really do things intentionally, I mean, Nimai brings so much beauty in and around his heart offering and what he's connected to. He's really the visionary when it comes to really connecting us to the earth. So we are operating in the code of 4. And so 4 days, 4 hours, 4 facilitators, 4 directions, 4 elements, 4 doorways, possibly 4 rites of passage during the journey. So we are going for 40 people, 40 times 10, 4 times 10 for this first one. And then after that, we'll see. This is also our maiden voyage, so we want to get comfortable with the technology.
Beautiful.
And really address the people, and then fine tune it so that it could blast to even thousands at a time.
Beautiful. I love it. I really love it. So let me just tell people it's spelled ReMenBer, MENBER, not remember, but they did the takeoff on that word. So it's ReMenBer. It's, I love these men. These 4 men are amazing. I have a special relationship with all 4 of them. And I'm excited about this work, Frank. I mean, it's needed and necessary. And that you made an online offering is really good too, because we can't stay on hold forever. This work must go on no matter what. You know, what you're describing is, you know, je me souviens, I remember who I am, and everyone needs to remember who they are.
And that their life is sacred, that they're here for a reason. The reason is to shine their gift and be like an expression of their love and their heart in the world. And we've just disconnected from that. We've just been on the hamster wheel or the rat race, and we've lost connection with our authentic value system. Yeah. And we're just supporting people to get back or get in relationship with their values so that they can move more consciously in the world.
Lovely, really wonderful. I'm tremendous support.
Thank
All right,
you,
so my code is handlers15, and if you heard it here, so the website is ReMenBer.com. Is that it?
No, ReMenBerJourney.com.
Oh, ReMenBerJourney.com, and you can go there and you can sign up with handlers15, and you'll get that discount. And Frank, I'm thrilled about it. It's giving me ideas. Like this whole talk we just had is giving me some ideas. And so, ...
I'm excited.
To be continued. Everybody, thank you so much for listening, tuning in today to Sex and Happiness. It's always my privilege to deliver to you how you can be sexier and happier. And men, or women, if you're listening and you know men, which I'm sure you do, this is for them. This is for them. It's time for men to look. After the Me Too movement, every man I know needs some like boosting, and this is a way to boost the spirit and the nervous system of men that you love. So, but I found out that more men listen to my show than women. So now I got a total surprise. So if you're hearing this and you know who you are, get on board with this. This is my brother. You want to be with him anyway. And the other 3 are my brothers too, just not my twin. So thank you so much. Thank you. I couldn't do the show without all of you. Thank you for listening. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for watching. Thank you so much.